Nobody believed this demolished carrier was worth anything. 10 credits later, I'm unstoppable. The scrapyard hung in space like a graveyard of metal. Rusted ships floated lazily around Virtus 7, a mining planet whose orbit was littered with the remnants of forgotten adventures. Some ships were little more than piles of twisted metal, while others were so big that they could house entire families inside. Among the floating debris, one human wandered in his small shuttle, scanning the list of items for auction. Elias Varn was not like the alien traders around him. They wore polished suits, their scales glinting under the harsh lights of the auction station. They looked at everything with the same calculating eyes. If it had value, they would bid. If it didn't, they ignored it. Elias, a human with a shock of dark hair and a wiry frame, was different. He didn't just see value in metal or credits. He saw potential. He skimmed through the list. Most of the ships were the usual fare: broken scouts, damaged cargo freighters, and engines that had clearly been through too many jumps. His shuttle floated past a massive pile of wrecks and his eyes caught something unusual. It was a carrier. Huge, colossal, but it was clearly abandoned. The hull was battered, scorched in places, and parts of its surface were missing entirely. Some panels even hung loose, swaying in the faint push and pull of microgravity. Alien markings ran along its sides, faded to gray with age. The traders nearby laughed when they saw Elias stop in front of it. "That thing," hissed a tall, four-armed alien, "hasn't moved in centuries. Not worth a single credit." Elias smiled slightly, the corners of his mouth barely moving. "Sometimes old things just need a little attention," he said quietly. The auction began and the carrier went up for sale. No one else seemed interested. The aliens murmured among themselves, shaking their heads. Elias raised his hand. 10 credits. Not much, but enough to win. The auctioneer blinked at him. 10 credits? For a carrier? It would have been laughable if it weren't so pathetic. "Sold!" barked the auctioneer. The crowd erupted into laughter. Elias only shook his head and boarded his shuttle. As he approached the carrier, he could feel the sheer size of it. It dwarfed his shuttle, and even from the outside it was clear that the ship had once been impressive. The doors groaned as they opened, and a rush of stale, cold air hit him. Dust motes floated in the light from his headlamp. Elias stepped inside. The corridors were massive. He could have walked 10 meters before needing to turn. Panels hung from walls, wires snaked across floors, and every surface bore the scars of time. Yet, despite the decay, he noticed something that made him pause. Some of the core systems were still intact. The main power conduit was dormant, but it had no breaks or corrosion. The life support units, though powered down, were connected and ready. His heart raced. This wasn't just junk. This was a sleeping giant. Elias made his way to the command bridge. Dust covered the main console, and screens flickered weakly. He traced his fingers across the control panels. There was a strange satisfaction in the cold metal under his touch. He paused at the AI interface. The ship's artificial intelligence was still present, though dormant. He smiled. "Hello?" he said softly. Nothing. He crouched and tapped a sequence of keys. The screen flickered to life. A soft mechanical voice answered. "Who is accessing the system?" Elias's heart skipped.
The AI was alive.
And wary. "My name is Elias Varn," he said slowly, careful not to startle it. "I bought this ship." There was a pause, long enough to make him nervous. Then the AI spoke again. "You are human. Unexpected. Most who approach this vessel do not survive." Elias laughed quietly, shaking his head. "I'm not here to hurt it. I just want to understand it." The AI hesitated. Then a soft hum began in the main core. Lights flickered on, revealing more of the bridge. The carrier slowly came to life, almost like it was stretching after a long sleep. "Why did you buy me?" the AI asked, its voice curious now. Elias thought about it. Because even broken things can be shadowed. Amazing, I can see it. I don't care what others say. I see the potential. The AI processed this. Its systems hummed, scanning Elias, scanning the ship.
Potential, yes.
It has been a long time since someone saw me that way. Elias moved through the ship, inspecting the storage bays, the cargo holds, and the maintenance corridors. He noted the places that needed repair, the broken engines, and the panels that had been ripped away in old battles. Every step revealed both the challenge and the opportunity. He started making lists in his head. He could repair the engines, reroute the power, patch the hull. He could use old parts from nearby scrap to restore life support and navigation. And with the AI's help, he could make this carrier function again. Perhaps even better than before. Night, or what counted for night in the orbiting scrapyard, fell. Elias stayed inside the ship, taking measurements, jotting down ideas, and talking quietly to the AI. He found himself imagining where the carrier could go. Exploration, trade, maybe even helping colonies too small for larger ships. Hours passed. The AI observed silently at first, then started offering suggestions. If you reroute power through the auxiliary conduits, you could bring one of the engines online, it said. Elias nodded. Exactly what I was thinking. For the first time in centuries, the carrier had a purpose again. And the alien traders outside didn't even know it. They thought Elias had bought a worthless heap of metal for 10 credits. By the time Elias left the ship that day, he had already started the first repairs. Some panels were replaced, conduits were cleaned, and the AI had begun mapping out the ship's systems. The carrier's true potential was slowly unfolding, like a flower in slow motion. As Elias looked out from the shuttle orbiting Virtus, heaven, he felt a thrill he hadn't felt in years. This carrier wasn't just a ship, it was a chance to show that humans could do what others dismissed as impossible. Tomorrow, Elias whispered to himself, we begin. And as if the ship had heard him, the lights in the bridge flickered softly, a quiet hum filling the massive halls. The carrier was awakening. Elias smiled. The galaxy didn't believe in humans like him, or in broken giants like this carrier. But that didn't matter, because humans had something the aliens often underestimated: vision, courage, and ingenuity. And in the quiet, dusty corridors of the ship, the AI seemed to agree. Potential confirmed, it said softly. Elias leaned back, imagining the adventures to come, the galaxy would see. They would all see, and in that moment the forgotten giant was no longer forgotten. It had found its pilot, and the pilot had found his ship. The morning light of Virtus 7 glinted off the scattered metal of the scrapyard. To anyone else, the debris looked like useless trash floating in orbit. But to Elias Varn, it was a treasure trove. He climbed back into the carrier, ready to begin the work that would bring the forgotten giant back to life. The AI's soft hum greeted him as he entered. Good morning, Elias. Systems remain dormant but stable. Shall we begin?
Elias grinned. We shall.
Let's see what we can do today. He started with the engines. They were ancient, damaged and missing parts. But Elias wasn't worried. Humans were good at improvising, and he had spent years learning how to fix things that others had given up on. He opened a maintenance hatch and peered inside. Looks bad, he muttered. Broken conduits, corroded coils, a few missing power regulators. But his eyes sparkled. But not impossible, the AI observed silently. You know, no other being has attempted this in over 50 cycles. They deemed it unsalvageable. That's because they don't think like humans, Elias said, his voice firm. We make do with what we have. We build what we can imagine. He pulled out a toolkit and began scavenging nearby wrecks for parts. Small engines, old wiring, and even structural panels found a new purpose in his hands. He reworked the broken coils, bending them carefully, replacing corroded segments with compatible materials. The AI guided him through the process, scanning schematics and offering suggestions in its precise mechanical voice. Hours passed. Sweat ran down Elias's forehead. But he didn't stop. He reconnected the power lines, rerouted auxiliary conduits, and carefully integrated scavenged engines into the carrier's frame. Every step required patience, creativity, and a touch of courage. One mistake, and the ship could short-circuit, or worse, become completely useless. Finally, he reached the moment of truth. He pressed the activation sequence. The engines shuddered. Sparks flew from a panel. For a heartbeat, it seemed like nothing would happen. Then a low hum grew louder. The engines, patched together from old parts, slowly powered up. The entire carrier trembled as if stretching after a long nap. Lights flickered along the hull, corridors brightening as power flowed. Elias let out a triumphant laugh. "We did it!" At least one engine. Not bad for a start. The AI's voice was calm but approving. "I must admit, your methods are unconventional, but effective. The human concept of improvisation is impressive." Elias chuckled. "Thanks. Now let's see if we can bring the others online." Next, he tackled the navigation system. The alien design was complicated, far different from anything human engineers had built. The alien traders had abandoned it because they couldn't understand it. But Elias didn't need to understand everything at first. He observed, experimented, and applied basic principles of logic. "Okay," he murmured. "If I reroute the auxiliary power here, we can activate the main navigation array. Then we stabilize the core with the secondary systems." The AI monitored silently, occasionally making a note. "Interesting approach. I would not have considered this method." By midday, the navigation system was functional. The ship could now calculate basic trajectories. Elias tested the controls, moving the ship slowly around the scrapyard. The carrier responded. Clumsily, but it responded. "This is amazing," Elias said, eyes sparkling. "It actually works." He took a break, sitting in the bridge chair. Dust covered everything, but the hum of revived systems filled the air. The carrier was awakening, slowly but surely. And all of it was happening because a human refused to see anything as impossible. After resting, Elias moved to the life support systems. Air filtration was simple compared to alien standards, but it had been shut down for decades. He repaired broken fans, replaced corroded pipes, and cleaned the filters. When he turned the system on, fresh, clean air filled the corridors, and the temperature stabilized, the AI observed quietly. "Remarkable. You have restored basic life support without following standard protocols. Most would have failed." Elias smiled. "Most are not human." Next was the cargo bay. Here, Elias's creativity truly shone. The doors had jammed long ago, panels were bent inward, and most of the original controls were useless. But humans had a knack for solving mechanical problems without complex technology. He rigged a pulley system using scrap cables, lubricated hinges with recycled oil, and worked patiently to straighten panels. Hours later, the massive cargo doors opened smoothly. Elias stood back and admired the work. "This is going to be huge," he whispered.
I can already see it. The AI scanned the cargo bay. Indeed.
It is one of the largest and most versatile sections I have ever recorded. If fully operational, it could support extensive missions. Elias felt a thrill of pride. This was more than just a ship. It was a symbol that humans could take what others considered useless and make it extraordinary. As the day drew to a close, Elias worked on the bridge's communication systems. He wanted to make sure he could reach other ships in case of emergencies or for trading. The alien technology was unfamiliar, but he applied simple logic, soldering connections, reprogramming the signal arrays, and aligning the transmitters. When he finally powered it on, a test signal pinged across the orbital network. Elias leaned back in his chair, smiling broadly. "We're officially back online." The AI's voice was calm but respectful. "You have done more in a single cycle than most beings could accomplish in decades. Humans truly are resourceful." Elias laughed softly. "You'll see more." This is only the beginning. Before leaving the ship for the night, he walked through the corridors, touching the panels, feeling the hum of revived systems under his fingertips. He imagined what the carrier could become, a vessel capable of exploring far beyond the known sectors, carrying supplies to struggling colonies, and maybe even showing the galaxy what humans were capable of. Outside, the alien traders watched from their own ships. A few had noticed sparks, flickers of lights and movements where they expected nothing. Curiosity mixed with disbelief. But Elias didn't care. He wasn't building the ship to impress them. He was building it to prove to himself that humans could succeed where others failed. By the time he returned to a small shuttle for the night, Elias had completed significant repairs. One engine fully operational, navigation restored, life support functioning, cargo bay accessible, and communications online. The carrier was alive in a way it hadn't been for centuries. He looked back at the giant vessel, floating silently in the scrapyard. "Tomorrow," he said, "we take it further. We make it better, faster, stronger." And in the quiet of the bridge, the AI spoke softly, almost with emotion. "I see now the value of humans. Potential. Realized." Elias smiled, standing in the dim glow of restored lights. The galaxy had ignored this carrier, called it worthless, and laughed at his 10 credits. But inside this giant broken ship, human ingenuity was rewriting the rules. The work ahead was immense. There were still engines to repair, the hull to reinforce, and systems to calibrate. But Elias didn't feel fear. He felt excitement. Humans thrived on challenges, and this ship was the ultimate challenge. As he floated back to his shuttle, ready to rest, Elias glanced at the massive carrier one last time. It was no longer forgotten. It was awakening. And humans, through determination, creativity, and courage, were proving once again that they could accomplish what others called impossible. The galaxy hadn't seen anything yet.
Elias Varn floated above Virtus.
7 in his shuttle, staring at the carrier below. The giant ship had already taken shape under his hands and the guidance of its AI, but it was still untested in deep space. Repairs could only go so far on paper. Now, it was time to see if the carrier could truly move and survive beyond the scrapyard. The AI's soft voice echoed through the bridge as he climbed aboard. "Shall we begin testing the engines and systems? I recommend a short trajectory to the nearby asteroid colony." Elias nodded.
Let's do it. We'll take it slow, monitor every system, and see what this old giant can really do. The engines roared to life with a cautious tremble.
Elias gripped the controls, feeling the vibrations travel through the floor. The carrier shifted slightly in the docking bay, then rose into the vacuum of space. Outside, the stars glittered, and the scrapyard fell behind like a distant memory.
"Stability checks online,"
the AI reported. All monitored systems functioning within expected parameters. Navigation arrays are calibrated for the initial jump. Good. Let's see how she handles. The first test was simple. Basic propulsion. Elias nudged the throttle forward. The carrier moved, slowly at first, but steadily. The stars stretched into streaks of light as the massive vessel glided through the orbit. For a moment, Elias allowed himself to feel pride. No alien trader would have believed a human could bring this ship to life, but space was not forgiving. As the carrier cleared the scrapyard, it entered a dense asteroid field, an area known for mining debris and erratic gravitational pockets. The AI warned immediately. "Warning, asteroid cluster detected. Navigation must be precise to avoid collisions." Elias leaned forward. "We don't do easy, do we?" he muttered. He adjusted the trajectory using manual controls where automated systems lagged. The carrier shuddered as it avoided a spinning rock the size of a small building. Another one bounced dangerously close to the hull, and Elias quickly calculated a new path. His hands moved over the controls with confidence, improvising on the spot, relying on intuition as much as the AI's data. Human reflexes. "Effective in unexpected circumstances," the AI commented, almost admiringly. Elias grinned. "Told you. We humans do well with problems others call impossible." The asteroid field tested more than just the carrier's engines. Some old hull panels rattled under impact from small debris. Elias instructed the AI to reroute power to auxiliary shields, a patchwork solution he had designed himself. It worked, barely. Sparks flew along the hull's edges, but the carrier survived. Finally, they emerged from the field. Elias let out a long breath. Not bad for a first real test. The next challenge came almost immediately. Magnetic storms in this sector were unpredictable, caused by nearby dying stars. They interfered with the navigation and communications and could destabilize the ship's power grids.
Elias watched as the lights flickered and systems blinked.
AI, can we stabilize the core? The AI analyzed the situation in an instant. Core stability can be maintained by temporarily diverting energy from non-essential systems. However, this must be done carefully to prevent cascading failures. Elias moved quickly. He shut down the cargo bay lighting, reduced life support power slightly, and rerouted energy to the engines and navigation arrays. The ship groaned but held steady. Good thinking, the AI said. I would not have considered this approach. Humans are resourceful.
Elias smiled faintly.
Resourceful and stubborn. Sometimes stubbornness is the best tool you have. They pushed forward, navigating through the storm, with sparks occasionally dancing along the hull. It was challenging, nerve-wracking, but the carrier responded to every adjustment, every creative solution Elias implemented. After the storm, Elias checked the AI system logs. The ship had performed beyond expectations. One of the secondary engines, patched from scavenged parts, had even produced slightly more thrust than predicted. The AI was silent for a moment.
Elias, it said finally, your improvisations are remarkable.
The efficiency of these engines exceeds my calculations. Human adaptability is extraordinary. Elias leaned back. Adaptability is what keeps humans alive. We make do. We survive. We thrive. The next stage of testing took them toward the asteroid mining colony, a small outpost that relied on deliveries for survival. Elias wanted to see if the carrier could not just move, but carry cargo effectively. The colony greeted them with cautious excitement. Signals of surprise buzzed through their systems as the massive carrier approached. It docked carefully, thanks to Elias's skillful piloting and the AI's precise calculations. Elias went inside the cargo bay. Supplies that would have taken smaller ships weeks to deliver were unloaded in a fraction of the time. The colony manager, a humanoid with green-tinged skin and bright amber eyes, stared in amazement. This ship is unbelievable, the manager said. I've never seen anything like it in all my years. Elias shrugged modestly. It's old, yes, but sometimes old things just need someone to believe in them.
The AI whispered softly almost to itself.
Belief strengthens potential. Once the delivery was complete, Elias prepared for the final part of the test, the return journey. He wanted to push the carrier further, testing its limits in navigation, speed, and endurance. He plotted a course back through open space, avoiding known hazards. As they traveled, he increased speed gradually, monitoring each system. The carrier responded well, engines humming smoothly, shields holding steady, and navigation arrays tracking perfectly. But then an unexpected anomaly appeared, a sudden dense cluster of micrometeoroids, invisible on earlier scans. They struck the hull in rapid succession, causing minor electrical surges and shaking the ship violently. Elias didn't panic. He quickly rerouted power from non-essential systems to the shields, adjusted the flight trajectory, and even manually controlled the deflectors. Every move was precise, every decision based on intuition and experience rather than protocol. The micrometeoroids passed, leaving minor scratches on the hull but no major damage. Elias exhaled. Not bad. We handled that well. The AI's voice was calm but impressed. Your human decision-making prevented significant damage. Conventional automated responses would have failed.
Elias smiled, wiping sweat from his brow.
Sometimes humans are better than machines, especially when you have to think on your feet. By the time they returned to the outskirts of Verdus, 7, the carrier had proven its capabilities. One fully functional engine, patched secondary engines, stable navigation, shields that could absorb unexpected impacts, and cargo systems that worked better than expected. All of it was thanks to a human mind willing to experiment, adapt, and improvise. As Elias docked the carrier back at the scrapyard, he allowed himself a moment to reflect. The aliens who had mocked him were still watching from a distance, probably still doubting his abilities. But Elias knew the truth. The carrier was no longer just a relic. It was alive, capable, and a symbol of human potential. The AI spoke softly as the docking clamps engaged. "I have never encountered a being with such resourcefulness. Humans are remarkable."
Elias laughed quietly.
Remarkable, yes, and unstoppable, once they put their minds to it. As he left the bridge for a brief rest, he thought about the next steps. Full engine restoration, hull reinforcement, and testing the carrier for even longer missions. There were challenges ahead, but he was ready. Every problem could be solved with creativity, patience, and a little stubbornness. Outside, the stars shimmered, and the carrier stood, silent but alive, in orbit. Once considered worthless, it had now proven itself under the guidance of a human pilot who refused to accept defeat. Elias looked at the horizon of stars. "The galaxy hasn't seen anything yet. Tomorrow, we go further." And in the quiet hum of the awakened carrier, the AI's voice whispered again, almost like a promise. "Potential realized. Humans unstoppable." Elias smiled. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was always watching. Not directly, of course, but rumors traveled fast. Word of the human who had bought a worthless carrier for 10 credits spread through the scrapyards and trading posts of Verdus, 7's orbit. Traders whispered, aliens pointed, and everyone wondered, how could a human revive what they all considered junk? Elias Varn ignored the whispers. He had a ship to finish. The carrier had been tested and had survived asteroid fields, magnetic storms, and micrometeoroid impacts. But he knew it wasn't yet unstoppable. Not until every engine was restored, the hull reinforced, and the systems fully calibrated. The first task was the engines. The secondary engines had survived their initial tests, but they were inefficient, prone to overheating. Elias worked methodically, scavenging rare alloys from nearby derelict ships and carefully crafting replacements. The AI helped, suggesting modifications and rerouting energy in ways no human or alien engineer had ever considered. After hours of work, the engines roared to life. The carrier shook with power, far beyond what its original specifications had promised. Elias ran a short test. It moved smoothly, faster than he had anticipated. He felt the thrill of potential realized. "This is it," Elias said to himself. "Now we see what she can really do." Next was the hull. Time had not been kind. Panels were dented, rivets rusted, and some sections had been scorched in old battles. Elias applied a human touch, innovative reinforcements using lighter alloys, clever bracing for weak points, and subtle adjustments to improve aerodynamics in the rare atmospheric conditions the carrier might encounter. The AI observed quietly, analyzing every change. "I have never encountered a hull reinforced in this manner. It is superior to many operational vessels of current design." Elias grinned. "Humans are good at thinking outside the box. Sometimes we don't follow the rules. They follow us." Finally, the systems. Communication, navigation, shields, life support, all had been partially restored. But Elias wanted perfection. He recalibrated arrays, rerouted power for maximum efficiency, and integrated the AI fully into every system. Now, the carrier was responsive, almost anticipatory. "Ready for the first demonstration?" Elias asked, standing on the bridge. The AI's voice, calm and mechanical, responded. "We are ready. All systems optimal." Elias set a course for the nearby trading hub, a bustling port where alien traders often congregated. He wanted them to see, not for glory, but to prove a point. Humans were capable of what others dismissed as impossible. As the carrier emerged from hyperspace, the hub's sensors lit up. Alien ships turned their heads, or whatever passed for heads on some of them.
A human?
With that ship? Surely impossible. Elias activated the engines fully. The carrier accelerated, slicing through space with power and precision. Shields shimmered against the radiation of nearby stars, and the ship moved with fluidity that defied its massive size. Traders scrambled to communicate, but no one could reach him fast enough. Docking at the port was seamless. Elias guided the carrier to the center of the station, where the largest alien ships and most skeptical traders could see. He powered down auxiliary lights to reveal the ship's massive frame, its restored hull gleaming under the docking bay lights. Silence fell. Aliens stared, jaws slackened, eyes wide. A ship that was worthless yesterday had become a marvel today. One trader, a tall reptilian with emerald scales, finally spoke. How did you do this? Elias smiled, leaning casually on the console. Simple. I didn't listen when everyone told me it was impossible. I believed in what it could be, not what it was. Humans see potential.
The AI added softly, almost with pride. Indeed.
Humans, unstoppable when guided by vision and ingenuity. Elias's demonstration didn't stop at mere appearance. He ran systems tests in front of the gathered crowd. Cargo bays opened effortlessly, revealing capacity for hundreds of tons of supplies. Engines accelerated the ship smoothly, even under full load. Shields withstood test energy blasts fired by the port's defense systems. Navigation was flawless, and communication arrays reached stations far beyond the local system. Whispers turned to murmurs. Murmurs became exclamations. The aliens had underestimated humans once again. Elias didn't stop there. He wanted to prove versatility. He initiated a series of maneuvers outside the station. Tight loops, rapid acceleration, and sudden directional changes. The carrier handled each with surprising agility. Even the AI noted it. Your improvisations and modifications have increased efficiency beyond original design parameters. This ship is remarkable. Elias laughed, letting the controls respond to instinct. Remarkable? Try unstoppable. News spread through the trading hub. Aliens and humans alike watched as the carrier, once considered junk, became a symbol of human ingenuity. No one doubted that it could perform missions that would challenge even the most advanced vessels. Elias spent the next cycles helping struggling colonies. He carried food, medical supplies, and tools. He mapped trade routes, rescued ships stranded in asteroid fields, and demonstrated that humans were not only capable of clever engineering but also resourceful problem-solving under pressure. Every action added to the carrier's reputation, and humans were increasingly respected across the sector. Even alien engineers attempted to replicate his methods, but failed. They lacked the human adaptability, intuition, and ability to improvise. The carrier's success was not just in its design, it was in the mind that guided it. By the time Elias returned to the central hub, he had become a legend. Young humans looked to him as a model. Aliens whispered about him, and even the most skeptical traders acknowledged the truth. Human creativity was unmatched. He walked the bridge, watching systems hum perfectly. The ship moved almost as if it were alive, responding to his commands instinctively. The AI's voice, calm and approving, echoed softly.
Elias, the ship is fully operational.
It exceeds expectations. It is unstoppable. Elias leaned back, a faint smile on his face. Unstoppable because humans refuse to give up, because we see what others miss. That's the difference. The carrier, once a demolished, abandoned giant, now represented a new standard. It was proof that the galaxy had underestimated humans at its own risk. And Elias knew this was only the beginning. There were more challenges out there, more exploration to do, more problems that required human ingenuity. But the carrier was ready. The human pilot was ready. And together, they were unstoppable. As the stars stretched into hyperspace trails outside the bridge, Elias whispered, "Let's show them what humans can do next," and for the first time the carrier hummed with confidence, almost like it understood the promise of its pilot. Together, human and machine were no longer bound by old limitations. They were free to explore, free to solve, and free to show the galaxy that nothing was impossible. The galaxy watched. The humans acted. And the impossible became reality.